We're going to call this meeting of the Select Board June 20th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. in session. And in an effort, I read this at the start of each meeting. In an effort to make meetings more effective and efficient, the Select Board has made changes to the public comment portion of the meeting. Citizens or others wishing to address the board during a meeting may do so during the public comment portion. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. All speakers will be heard before people are given a second opportunity to speak. Once the public comment portion of the meeting is over, the public will be able to speak if the chair determines their input is needed during another portion of the meeting. What we've determined is that we will take comments that are not on the agenda at the beginning of the meeting and other public comments that relate to the meeting after we are finished.
Oh, that's a new update. I like that. Great.
Yeah, that way they,
That makes sense.
We got a
Yeah.
lot of stuff coming on here.
Yeah, seems it. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to skip another one if we're gonna get more stuff done.
For participants on Zoom, if you have a question, please raise your hand. Please only use the Zoom chat for technical issues such as room audio, or you can't raise your hand or things of that nature. Please do not comment or question in the chat as it is distracting for all. It's not to stifle community input, but rather to allow the Select Board to be more effective and efficient in our work. You are always welcome to email the members of the Select Board at any time with feedback or questions. Our email addresses are on the town website and on the notice on the sign-in table. Thank you. All right, so now we start with public to be heard, and are there comments to be made that are not on the agenda?
Knew you wanted me to go over that. All welcome to that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Printer failed, so I only have 3 copies, 1 for me and 2 for you guys. I think you probably have a drift as to where we're coming. But we have, as you may or may not know, stumbled over a minor, what we think of as a scrivener's error in 64-page document that I'm holding. And whenever we talk to the subject, we're talking about that the zoning administrator and the development review board have interpreted section 5.6 of the LDRs, which only describes in density a simplex, a single family, and a duplex. In congruity, in lack of congruity with the definitions of a building, which includes simplex, duplex, triplex, and fourplex, as well as 5+, and in the table of uses in 2.22 and 3, where density includes single family, duplex, triplex, and fourplexes. What the interpretation, as we've received from both of those parties, essentially means that Jericho is trapped inconsistently with what was the intention, and having participated in all the meetings, read all the documents, the intentions were to allow larger multifamily houses in Jericho. Right now, the interpretation of the zoning administrator and the development review board. And we're at 10.25% interest with rising costs. So not addressing this promptly, and having been on this planet for a long time, and more importantly, for 50 years working in the real estate business, when we've encountered this transaction circumstance in other towns, the council for those towns, once they discover it and they understand it's occurred on maps, it's occurred like this has in documents, they go to a doctrine called the Scrivener's error. And it happens in contracts all the time, whether it's a typo, whether it's an administrative inclusion of the wrong page, whatever it is. But as long as the parties to the transaction, the contract, understand the best thing in the world, instead of litigation, conflict, or in the case of something that has an adverse effect on delivery of services and the economy, you fix it, and that opportunity is there. I can give you references to lawyers that I've done it with, but I would just like you to realize this is a really, really big deal. And it's not a big deal to fix it. It's about 2 cents.
So Jim, thank you for this. So I want to say, I totally respect what you're trying to do. You're trying to get some missing middle housing in there, which we all agree that we want. I want to speak to your point that this is an error, and I have read your emails. I do not believe it was an error because I remember being on the board in January of 2022, where we talked and talked and talked about these amendments. And the amendment was, for now, knowing that we had more work to do, but these were some easy wins to move to duplex. And I promise you that there was no intent ever at that time to go to 4. We acknowledged we had more work to do and we made it go 3, 4, 5, something further down the road. And I remember that so clearly because it was the first zoning change. And so I can tell you that that error, that is not an error like whoever Scrivener, it wasn't like a manifest error. It wasn't documented wrong. That was the intent. I'm not saying those changes were good or bad. I'm just saying, I know that that was the intent.
Okay, I have confirmed with the person who was responsible in writing that the intention was to make sure that the whole LDR was congruous, that there was no point in putting 2s, 3s, and 4s, and 5 plus into the table of use and into the definitions of a building, if in fact it wasn't going to be congruous to the full document. So what happens is, just like on the measurements of signs, these things end up costing the town a lot of time, a lot of ill will, and a lot of money. And in this case, it's very significant. I respect and obviously can't disagree with what was in your mind, but
It wasn't in my mind. It was what was presented to us by the planning commission. It was discussed many, many times. I'm sure we can pull up meeting minutes and talk about it. It was talked about exhausting. And I know, and I remember because Chuck said it didn't go far enough.
Right.
Chuck has been honest about this and he was right. It probably didn't go far enough, but it was something to do
Right.
and make some changes towards that. It only went to 2. Now, when I say it only went to 2, I'm being very vague.
Right.
It was anywhere where there was 1 allowed, you could now have 2. There may have been some little details in other zoned areas that I don't remember the details of. But basically, the gist of it was, if you're allowed to build a single family, you're allowed to build a double.
Right.
That's what was done and agreed to, right or wrong. And I'm not certain about much when it comes to things that I remember, but I'm quite certain about that.
Well, you have to
I would just say to you, my first town meeting here in Jericho was 1967. And I've been studying constitutional law since 66. And what I would say is that what you just said may in fact be what was intended, but what was written clearly states that 3-plexes, 4-plexes, and 5s are in the table of use. They're in the definitions, and that's incongruous because 5.6 only applies to density in a PUD. So, and so what we have to do is either this is something that is repairable or it's consequential. And, let's just leave it that I've heard you. I understand what you've said. And those of us who were there, you mentioned one of them. And as I understand that he has been in fact bringing this to everyone's attention since, but there was turnover. There's all these things that are going on. I can assure you, sitting there, number one, I don't like.
I just don't think Chuck would be pushing us to allow 4-plexes if we had already done it.
Right.
His hand is up.
Right. Oh, wait, I was also going to say,
Yeah, go ahead.
state law requires the zoning administrator to administer the bylaws literally.
And literally, you
Is
have
literally.
incongruous sections in your bylaws.
But Scrivener's
which ends up-
typically refers to punctuation and things like that, not something like this where it is substantial, whether you can do duplexes or larger. So that is, that's also, so if we're going to change it, you have to follow the rules, which means it has to go through the planning commission. And then they have to have their public hearings and then it comes to us and we do that kind of stuff.
Chuck has his hand up.
Okay, Chuck has his hand up.
Go ahead, Chuck.
Actually, my recollection is very similar to it. Well, it is the same as Jim's. The change that was made in 2022 was to make 3-plexes and 4-plexes conditional use in the low density residential area in the 3-acre zone. And that change was made in several places in the zoning regulations, most conspicuously in the table of uses. The table of uses are very clear, and they were changed from what they were before to allow triplexes in the low density residential. Where I am pushing for triplexes and fourplexes is in the 70% of Jericho that is not in low density residential and village and the village center. Before the select board closes this, I think you should look at what the zoning regulations were before your change and with your change in 2022. And I think you'll see that threeplexes and fourplexes were added as a conditional use. Certainly on the table of uses. And I believe in some other places. I can check right now, double check on what the zoning regs were. Hang on just a second. In the 2019 table of uses. A multifamily dwelling in the 2019 version of the zoning regs was conditional use in all zones. So that, was conditional use in village, in commercial and village center. It was not allowed in the low density residential. And the change you made in 2022 was that you added another line for 3 or 4 units. It was never there before. So this is a brand new line in the table of uses. There was no line in the table of uses for 3 or 4 units prior to your 2022 changes. That new line says for just 3 and 4 units is conditional use in low density residential and permitted in the village, commercial, and village center. That was a major change and a very productive change, and one that I supported. It also added another line for 5 dwellings or more, which is conditional use in the village and permitted in both the commercial and the village center. So there was progress made there. My advocacy is for 3 or 4 and more units to be permitted in the low density residential, and basically, in the rest of Jericho. But I think if you were to look at the zoning regs as they were in 2019 and 2022, and look at the table of uses, you can really see the intent that was there in 2022.
Okay, so my recollection again was for the broader, for literally the anywhere where there was one, we now allowed 2. I didn't remember the details of smaller.
No, you are correctly remembering that. That was a change, and that was the one change that affected, well, basically you beat state law by about 6 months and made duplexes legal.
I think the state followed our lead.
Yeah.
Exactly. There you go. Let's
Let's
stay in the lead.
Okay, so
We're not gonna solve it right here.
it's not on the agenda, and we can.
On page 5, it's the other key element.
Hey, I have one question for Jim. Jim, did this document lay out your argument?
It doesn't have all the exhibits and attachments.
Okay, but it's got
But
your
just
basic
the
argument.
touch point, and on page,
Hold on, no, hold on. And my question is, if I read through this, that I watched the DRB meeting and couldn't follow it, if I read through this, this lays out basically what your argument is, and I can do the research of what the different documents are, they are. If I go through this, I will understand your perspectives.
yes, and Mr. Lacy did the perfect part, is that language at best, particularly verbal, is accurate maybe 50% of the time. And then all of our energy and time goes into all of these fringe areas. But this, we make decisions.
Yep, no, I got it. We gotta move on. As long as your argument's laid out
Okay.
there, I'm
We can-
comfortable.
Move on.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Is there any other material for public to be heard? If not, we're going to move on to review and consider appointing Joe Flynn to the Jericho Community Development Board.
Come on up, Joe. So as the chair of our Jericho Community Development Corporation, we are down a couple of members. There is still one opening. But for one of those openings, the JCDC met with Joe Flynn here, and we have passed our recommendations along to you, also us, the select board, to consider Joe. So this is Joe Flynn, if you don't know him. So go ahead, Joe, if you want to just maybe chat about what makes you interested.
Again, I consider my community doing something I enjoy doing. It's my living. I do think from being on the DRB for so many years, I understand the regs very well, very well. Also being on the select board, while the town plan is being finalized, I got really into that too. So my background, I think I can hopefully help add some expertise. And it's pretty low key.
It is fairly low key. It may get busy. It may get,
Yeah, it might.
if it gets busy, I guarantee you, pushing a lot of stuff your way. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, at the moment.
Again, for now,
Yeah.
I know, for now,
people want things to happen.
that's right.
I would make a motion to approve Joe Flynn's appointment to the JCDC.
This is one case, I'll go ahead and second it then. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
That was it. Sorry, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
It's AC in here. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, we have Black Walnut Lane.
As most of you know, I've probably been talking to John Abbott for 3 years and trying to move forward and getting the town to take over the road in Black Walnut.
Are you, Bill?
I'm sorry, still talking.
I stood in for him last night.
Okay.
Guy had a last minute trip I had to go to. We had probably a year and a half, spent a considerable amount of money putting the last top coat on our road to bring it up to the specs as we were told that they were. And I had what was done on there and by who and to get them up there. So I guess we're just trying to figure out what would be next steps, since I've not been told next steps for 3 years. And, you know, a lot of the conversations with John Abbott, and I know, you know, they mean little or nothing. You know, he was, you know, they come in several times that our road is at the standard, you know. The town manager or town maintenance guy, or, you know, he said he's inspected it. The only thing that he found wrong with it was there was a tree that was too close to the road. And I said, will you cut it down and move it? You tell us what we need to do to get the town to take over the road. And, you know, we're less than a half-mile total road for these 33 houses, a tremendous amount of tax revenue there. No other road, whether, you know, private, comes to that and being blacktop. I mean, there's a lot of private roads out there that's probably had one house every mile or two, but we got, you know, roughly almost 35 houses in a half-mile radius, and probably the lowest value of the house in there, probably $600,000. So the tax revenue that's generated is tremendous. So we'd like to see if we can move forward and get the town to take over the road, or what we need to do to get the town to take over the road.
Yeah, it has been the practice of the town not to take over any roads for quite some time. Actually, it was a thing before my even. But because I know that Black Walnut started out as a smaller road, and that you have done quite a bit of work then to bring it up to the larger specs, which means, you know, more stormwater.
Yeah.
Now, do you have and that's what it comes down to, is your stormwater permits.
Well, correct a little bit. There are a lot of things that comes down to, but one of our current concerns is
The
the,
stormwater.
yeah.
Yeah, we are no issues with the stormwater, the erosion or anything else. I have actually blueprints of the whole area where the stormwater covers and, you know, the specs of the road and everything else. John at one time said that, you know, would you guys be agreeable to separate the stormwater and we take over what's within the ditch? I'm assuming he was talking about on the road. Would you keep everything else? So it said, absolutely. We're open to just about anything.
No, because you have different homeowners associations and a significant number of homes, even though it's in a short area. You know, there is a lot of driveways and impervious surface. Do you have current stormwater permits for each one of those areas?
We have, since I took over, there was actually 3 separate stormwater permits. We've consolidated with the state and down to 1 stormwater permit that covers everything.
And that includes the road.
That includes everything.
That's all covered under the master association.
Yeah.
And what's the impervious surface acreage of the
So,
whole?
so, yeah, you mentioned the impervious surface. Catherine, I was gonna ask you if you guys.
That actually is changing because there's 2 houses being
That's-
built
Yeah,
until we get the exact measurements, so to speak, and then the third and final lot has been sold. And till we get totally on that, I couldn't tell you exactly. I can show you.
you could at least tell us where you currently are.
Yeah.
Before you, do you guys remember the conversation we had last time? Like I was representing.
I don't remember it because I didn't understand 3-acre stormwater at all. We had a training on that. Now I'm like, okay, now I
So
can
if
take
you
that in.
remember, Eric, I was arguing, I wanted to get it, I wanted to come back, I want an exact date. And you guys took some actions to go follow up on and follow it. I think you were on the screen last night. And that was, you guys were gonna look up.
We understand so much more about the
Correct.
3 acre stormwater now than we did.
You guys, not us, to come back.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
Oh, I didn't think that was true.
Well, yeah, I don't know that we had specifics about your permit. I personally just needed to understand what it meant.
I see.
How
okay.
a road compares with the development. What if the road's already there? What if you had a development and it's like 2.85, but there's a road going down the middle of it that the town already owns? How does, like, all these weird kind of scenarios is
Right.
where I was getting really lost in the minutia of it. So we have since educated ourselves on that.
Okay,
I was just curious when I asked the question of when he said you have 1 stormwater, I was just confirming that it included the road, that's all.
it does. It does.
I can give you our permit number,
Oh, yeah.
so that would make it easy. I'm looking through my emails from stormwater.
Yeah, that would help because.
See if that has it. It's permit number 4167-9050.
But that helps
That,
determine when
we can call that.
it also determines, yeah, when, you know, when the permit needs renews and renews and how.
Yeah, the permit, when we look up the permit, it'll tell us pretty much everything, like Brody had said, it'll tell us
Yeah.
all that we needed to know.
Yeah.
It takes me a while, you know,
No worries.
Don't worry.
I'm actually in the middle of doing the permit, the self-inspection for this year. Trying to get in touch with I'm assuming he's the state person. Is it Brody, did you say?
Yeah,
Brody
yeah.
Hankey or?
Yeah, I'm actually trying to get in touch with him to, because part of and I don't want to get sidetracked here, you guys. Part of the thing is trying to get it with him to find out how the new construction affects the new permit process, because
Yeah,
cannot submit the inspection report till I get in touch with him.
yeah, there's a lot of details to pay attention to over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Joe?
Can I ask?
Yeah, is it pertinent to this because?
Yes.
They-
Most definitely.
Yes.
Okay. Because, you know, theoretically, I was gonna wait to the end, but you have expertise, so.
So just a couple things on Black Walnut. First of all, and maybe somebody can answer, is this all the way to the end at the top of the end of the gardener's lots, the hammerhead? Is this all the way to the end of Black Walnut?
Just to the hammerhead.
Just the
Not any further.
well,
Well, there's private driveways that go up. from
Yes.
there.
so,
And it doesn't include Maple Brook either.
okay, so my input on this is this. Well, I would love the town to change its status of taking over town roads. They ask us to build it to the standards, yet they still don't take it over. And I understand the premise why John Burke kind of initiated no more town roads coming in. We got one of the last town roads, Larry Burke, one of our developments here in Jericho, we got the last town road, I think, in. Okay, and after that it stopped, so am I in favor of it? Yes. I do understand the select board's policy and town policy, very much so. I do mention this, so if the select board decides to take this over and change the policy for just this one, I can guarantee you there will be more
Oh,
follow.
yes.
We will, as you know, our clients come through, and we'll use this as a basis to use that.
That's exactly the conversation we were having with John Abbott, is this would set the standard.
And
So
that's
just-
part of,
no,
part of the reason I brought up the fact.
I don't want to.
Oh, Susan, yeah.
I don't wanna get
You're not supposed to talk about, you're not
Yeah,
supposed to
I'm
talk.
addressing the select board,
Yeah.
those are my thoughts, those are my concerns.
Our concerns too, yeah.
And again, it's your game, but I wanted to bring that up, that you will probably see a couple of those things occur, so.
That's what we're concerned about.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's part of the thing, having standards.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, if you say private roads are accepted, you're gonna have every single private road go, we want to accept it.
Mhm.
But, you know, when you spend, like he said, you have to bring them up to a standard, and then the town doesn't take over them. I can, you know, the builders, you know, it gets expensive, it even gets expensive on the homeowners and everything else. And I know it's not prevalent that, you know, the builder says, you know, we get it bought up, the town will take over. You know, we got fooled on that, so, yeah.
I think the fundamental premise is that when you build a new neighborhood, you bring in more tax revenue, and that tax revenue expects in return services.
Yeah, this is the dominoes, because we have to look at what our impact fees are to make up for, you know, the new costs anymore, because you need, you know, this, that, and the other thing, as you said, you've got the same thing. And I have been advocating for changes to the public works specs for years, so.
So is there anything you need from us, or?
No, we just need the permit, I mean, that's helpful.
Yeah, I'll get that for you.
And then, you know, Paula will get us the information, and then we'll make determination. And then probably be rewriting what actually write a policy that's in writing, so that it's not just, oh, the town doesn't do it.
Yeah, I know John had mentioned during one of our conversations that some of the towns take over all private roads, some of them don't take over any of them.
And very few towns anymore are taking over roads,
Yeah.
period.
Those are the expensive,
Yeah,
where, but there again, 35 homes in a half mile. That's a lot of tax revenue.
And it's $300,000. And Paula, you mentioned last time that you were meeting with the PLC on what's the process to take over.
Yeah, so that's what I found out is their policies, they're not necessarily, not taking over the roads. There is some wording and some fluff that they put in there about the whole process of taking over a road. So I still am working on that. I've gotten quite a bit of information from a couple other towns as well. They've sent me their policies just so I can have that, so we can incorporate something to start that process. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah,
yes, sir. And I know, but you need to state your name for the record.
Yeah, Peter Anderson. Last time when I spoke at the last meeting, I wasn't sure of what board and the name of the person that I worked with on getting the final top coat put on Black Walnut Lane, and it was Chris Flynn with a DRB. So I just wanted to clarify that for the minutes.
Oh, okay.
As far as a standard, we suggested that if you made a standard that any private road that had 20 or more residences could be eligible for the town to take over, or something like that. The only other private road that is anywhere close to that is Mansfield, I believe, which is off of Brown's Trace. It's a development that
Yeah.
is off of Brown's Trace. I think they have 14 houses up there, something like that. So if you set a standard of there had to be a certain number of houses in order for it to be considered for becoming a town road, I think that would help you. We're surrounded by Jericho East, which is a town road, and across the way is Starbird, which is another town road, and Pecker. So.
Thank you. I think,
Could I make a comment?
I think we're gonna, I know I broke my own rule. But Chris Joe has expertise in this because he has come before the DRB when it comes to these. I think we'll wait for you and Jim, who both have comments till the very end so that we can move through the process.
Do you want a copy of this, the compassion report for the
I
road?
think we've got that.
You think you got
Yep.
that?
Yep, I think you said that to
We
me.
want to move on, and then if there's time at the end, we'll take your comments.
You're saying at the end of the meeting?
Yes. After after we've did our updates.
Okay.
So you want us to stay on?
Oh, no, we're just, we can't do anything.
I'm gonna drive right over. I'll be there.
That's not gonna make a difference.
No.
I guess before you close this topic, though, I had one other comment. It
Okay.
was brought up in the last meeting, the April 18th meeting. Someone mentioned that private roads were taxed at a lower rate because the town wasn't paying to plow and for the permits, all that sort of thing. I compared the municipal rates of Starboard Road to Blackwood, to the penny, to the thousandth of a penny.
But wouldn't, hypothetically, I get it's a stretch, but let's say your house has a certain value of, let's just say it's $100,000 for real easy math. And let's say that's fair market value, right? Based on the entire market, the scope of the entire economy, looking at the value of that house. And part of that value is what it is because you pay $100 a month of association fees. And of that $100 a month that you pay, 50 of it is for the road, let's just say. Again, real easy math. I know these numbers aren't right, but wouldn't then, so someone that did that assessment based on those numbers, they looked at it again in 6 months, pretending nothing else had changed in the market, wouldn't then that house go up in value a little bit because of the lowering of your association fee? And therefore, you're now paying, maybe it went up only $5,000, but now you're paying taxes on 105,000 value instead of 100,000 value. Isn't that hypothetical example true?
I would say it's true if both the HOA fees and the taxes came down, but right now they're both at the full amount. So the HOA fees.
Right, but the value is going to go up. The HOA will drop, right? And the house value will go up because of the drop.
I'm not sure if the house value, most people don't buy a house, if they're gonna save $20 or $30 a month. They buy a house because they like the house, they like the location, proximity to everything. No, location is everything.
There may be some validity to that if the house is 700,000, but I can guarantee you when I bought my first house,
Yeah.
that association fee absolutely weighed into whether I could afford it or not. So,
Or just bundling and paying the same services that any homeowner would have to buy on their own. They're
Right.
getting cheaper, so.
right,
Yeah, if the
but they go down,
drastically go down, say if they were 1,000 and because town took over the road, went down to $200, absolutely 100%. But it's, like I said, it's a minuscule amount between
Well, it can't be too minuscule or you wouldn't be lobbying
Wouldn't be-
so hard to get us to take it over.
The main reason.
Well, they
you know,
spent a lot of money putting that
Yeah.
road bigger.
A
I
lot
remember
of
it was a lot smaller road.
It's an elderly community. We've got people in wheelchairs and, you know, rely on access to the road and everything else. We are paying to have it plowed. Obviously, the standard is probably not what town would go. We know by driving from our road onto Packard, you know, there's and so that's a lot of it. And especially, you know, when you get up at the top of the hill and you're over, if the roads are bad, when you're trying to get a ambulance up there, everything else, those are a lot of considerations. For a few dollars, it doesn't, you know, mean, yeah, I mean, right now, we're paying to have the road plowed. It's really not that excessive amount for the HOA. So that's why I said, it's a minimal amount of difference between the value of the house and you're saying, you know, saving $10 or $20 a month. If it's that.
So can you, so is it, so it's truly, so you're all very interested in taking this over and I understand the history of it and just how you've been strung along and
Yeah, you-
totally sympathetic to that, 100%.
Yeah.
But just pretend we're not at a select board meeting and you're just talking to a person, like what's your main reason that you want to get this to take it over? It's really because of the safety?
It's a combination of everything. I mean, it's, you know, contracting a snowplow guy, following up on the snowplow guy. And, you know, it's probably 100 different reasons.
One guy in a pickup isn't gonna do anything near as good a job as the town.
Yeah. And then, you know, keeping track of
The quality of the plowing is better.
Quality, yeah. and the
quality plowing,
frequency.
salting.
The what?
Dealing with it as far as whatever. Yeah.
Like I said, if you leave Black Walnut, even though it's safe, we can go in and out and everything else, you go down the Packard Road, even though after Packard, you know, dirt and have, it's remarkable difference. So there's a combination of everything.
So what are our next steps? Where are we leaving this?
I think we have a decision that we have to make and
But we're gonna check on the permit.
we're gonna check on the permit number, but
Because that's a biggie, right? Yeah.
I don't know what that,
What's that gonna do?
yeah.
Well, that means that because if you're gonna take over something, you really should have a current stormwater. And if it's not, and it ends up being over 3 acres, then stormwater
Is a factor.
it's a fact.
It can,
And we can make a negotiation over that or something like that.
yeah, can we, Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Can we share like where we're at, like in our own minds individually? I don't know where the two of you are at, but I mean, I do think we owe
Oh, we do.
this group some sort of, is it okay if I share my opinion or are we going to get ourselves sued if I say something wrong?
Well, yeah, you might. I think let's just dot the i's and cross the t's and then because I know we're all.
But we need to get this thing buttoned up.
We do,
need to
absolutely.
be done with this one way or the other.
Because they were strung along for a
Right,
long
it's
time
been ridiculous.
and it wasn't fair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been, I read, we have a packet of all the emails, all the communications, all the documentation.
We watched videos, we watched recordings.
Watch videos of old meetings, this needs to get dealt.
Yeah,
One way, I'm not saying it's gonna be what we want, but it needs to get dealt with.
right. Yeah. So I mean, it's just this, just the last little dots.
Yeah, okay, so
Yeah.
so we can get that information between now and July 11th and.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
just make a decision on July 11th.
Okay, so I'm fine with that. My only concern, all due respect, I feel like we had the same conversation
Yeah.
on April 18th.
Yeah,
You know, we need to do this, and this. We'll come back on the 20th and then we'll have an answer.
Well,
for you.
if you notice, there's certain things changed during that time frame.
That's okay. I understand. Things change. And on a scale of 3 years, that's not a lot of time. It's not
Yeah.
2 months, but.
Yeah,
Do we-
it will
do we
be
need
taken
anything
care
more
of.
From us, do you
Yeah.
need us to get out our slide rule and calculate the 3 acre?
the only information that I need, the only information that I need to get either from the state, from that permit number, or from Paul, or from you, is relatively detailed information on what the impervious surface is,
Mhm.
how much of that is the road, and what could that impervious surface grow to in the future based on further development. That's to me, the stormwater piece is the piece that I'm hesitant around. If we have all that information, either from the permit or from Paul or from you, I feel like July 11th, we can make a decision.
Okay, so you don't need anything else from us between now and July 11th?
It doesn't.
We'll ask you for something on the 11th.
Will that permit have the information on what the impervious surface is? Do you know?
It should.
Yeah.
Looking through it now, trying to find it.
Brody said it should have all of that information
Yeah.
included, so yes,
Yeah.
once I pull that permit.
Yeah, I've got every email from.
Yeah, so we'll get it taken care of in July 11th for sure. That will
Okay,
be
so
fine.
they're on the agenda already for July 11th, and we will get you
Yeah,
a somewhat more definitive response by then.
Okay, and do you,
and then we're gonna start our policy update.
do you need one of us to hold back? For when Chuck comes?
I'll stay here.
All right,
Do you
Thank you.
comments on this at the end of the select board meeting?
We do.
yes,
This or any other.
any other. I mean, we're trying to move things along. So thank you for your patience. We really do apologize for how long this has taken.
Thank you.
But it will be done.
Thank you.
And that way you don't have to worry
The
about.
decision will be made. I wouldn't say it will be done.
Right.
We're worried about getting sued. Let's be real careful here.
You're right. That's the real technical language there.
Yes.
Because yes. All right. Thank you for your time. So we're going to move on to review and consider approval of the Sullivan Power scope of the fiscal year 24 audit. That's a very thoughtful presentation that they gave us.
Yeah,
I mean, they're really,
yeah. and I-
identifying themselves as a new, it's new for us. and-
My only question I had, and I should know this, I probably could have looked it up. They're the same ones that just delivered us our last
Yes.
audit.
They're new, so this one was new. Hopefully this coming year, since they have a
Right.
lot of it under their belt, it'll be
Yep.
kind of formed.
Yeah, and it took them, because of the change, with our original
Mhm.
audit company saying, oh, so we no longer doing it.
Right.
All of a sudden, it was a real struggle to
Yeah.
get a new one.
Yep.
And
Yep.
this is a very good company.
Yep.
So with that, I mean, I thought
You need a-
I thought their audit was fine, and I think their packet is fine. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve Sullivan and Powers for the FY 24 audit.
Second.
So I need those signed for.
All those
three
in
of them.
favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, update on town meeting reimagined, and Gay said that she had other issues and may not make it tonight, correct?
Yes.
And so I was at that meeting, and if you have read the material from it, they have done a substantial job. And in fact when the VLCT said, hey, if you guys pull this off based on what you're talking about, I want to know about it because you can be used as a template.
So with Gay, I read it and had some notes and some questions, but if with Gay not here, should we?
I could,
Yeah.
Catherine can answer because
I was
they, Catherine was there.
I was there, and I did some of the
So
work.
I'm wondering, one of the things that we should do a discussion point on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, do we owe it to since it's a live meeting to like rehash can we just publish what they, like, I feel
Well,
weird about
yeah.
talking about it where like
Oh.
our audience hasn't read what we read that we
Right.
got today, but I don't want to read that whole thing because we'd
Oh,
be
no,
here till
no,
10.
But he just needs a couple questions answered. We could
But
do
Eric's
this.
saying.
Right, but like, how do we enter the conversation
Yeah.
considering the public?
View of this.
Yeah, so I can contextualize my questions.
Okay,
And the first question is that the timetable of having to have, because we legally through state law have to have the Australian ballot within 3 days prior to town meeting day. So it would require a charter change. I wasn't clear if the group was recommending to move forward with a charter change and do the November process, do a November vote, and then get it to the legislature, and not for this year, it can't be done for this year, but it sounded to me, based on the notes from, I think it was Pomfret, that even after several years, people are still confused about why aren't we meeting on town meeting day?
right.
And if we could get a charter change in and get the big meeting to happen on town meeting day, and Australian ballot to be a month later.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to see happen, but I'm wondering what the committee's.
The committee said right now we have to focus on, let's try it the first year this way because she said, do not even count on having it happen this year.
And what I remember Gay saying when she talked about it is that Jessica, who is also on the committee, beg them not to do that.
Right.
Just the amount of headache it would be to hold that vote
To
at
never
a,
do it?
No.
to
Oh,
never do
Yeah,
it,
Jessica would wanted to never.
oh,
to never
But
do
she
it.
did say that if it is the public decision to do so, then of course.
Of course she would do it, but I'm just saying that was her strong feeling of the amount of extra effort to hold that official vote Australian ballot at the month later seemed like an extraordinary. Now, again, that was just what Gay said that she said,
Right.
that I heard her say.
Yeah, and that's really what because Jessica is saying, one, you're gonna pay more money because we have to warn and staff the second election. And two, it is also gonna cost money if you're going to mail a ballot to everybody for the Australian ballot.
Yeah.
So my question is there a recommendation from this group around whether to do that? And if there is a recommendation to do it, not for this time, but the next time, what steps need to happen now to get something passed, get the town charter passed, to get it in front of the legislature in time for whatever it is, 2026?
That's why they're working on that this summer to try to determine.
This group is?
Yeah.
Okay, because the other thing I had a question about was they said like, should we disband or should we keep
Oh,
going?
no, because they have to do all the details.
Okay,
They're,
okay, great.
they're committed to doing the details for the fall events. Because it's required, gonna take a lot of publicity and a lot of
Yeah,
organization. And, but that is their question, how far did they go? But they're gonna take it through at least this first cycle because they want to also be able to document whether it was successful or not and what kind of surveys you have and things like that.
So this is the calendar here.
Pretty much.
Do we need to do anything around that?
No, they're going, over the summer, what they're basically going to do is they're gonna, start working on what the details are and how we could, as a select board, do a budget and business, and kickoff meeting, make
But
what.
that says late August, so that's not far away.
First
That's
meeting
right,
is late
that's
August,
exactly
yeah.
right.
That's not far away at all, like,
But
I
what
feel
it
like
does-
promotion should be starting
It's just-
tomorrow morning.
Well, it's just informational material. I mean, how to do it is like, are we gonna have, donuts aside or.
No, but I mean like the promotion, like the getting the word out, this meeting, there's this new process and that flyer that Eric has in front of him there, like that, like all that.
Yeah, that's what they're gonna talk about.
So I
They're gonna
think-
get out, yeah,
And that needs to happen.
pretty soon.
So there's no motion, this is just, it says right here, update. So
It's
there's,
just an update, yeah.
okay,
And the big question was, over the public questions, because that is really the VLCT thought that was a great idea to do with the budget. And handle the budget. The issue is, questions. Petition questions, you cannot, because people at those meetings would, amend questions or, but if it's a petition, you cannot change it. You can.
Right, that's got to pass as written.
And it's
Yep.
gotta go. Now, if there is sentiment at this January meeting and there's enough input, the select board could consider putting that on the ballot. Because we're doing it before the actual warning is written. However, I also recommended that if they really were passionate about something, VLCT said, suggested that, again, that, you follow the petition. Because the select board doesn't have to
right.
do
Yep.
any of that. So if you really wanted something, petition anyway.
Okay, so no action needs to be done by
No.
us, just.
No, just-
Yeah, I think is it worth the select board saying that we received it and we are generally in favor, like,
Yeah,
I feel like we need to answer, like to me, I love pictures, right? So you get this nice picture of meeting number 1, meeting number 2, and meeting number 3.
Yeah.
Like, should we just say that we approve of that, or should we
Well,
get it out on the website so people can look at this?
I would put it on the website.
And then we talk about it later and say,
Yeah.
we
So-
approve of,
put this report on the website.
yeah.
And then emphasize that it is on the website.
Yeah.
I'm joining.
Maybe even we
Say
could
that.
even promote it on.
Yeah,
from-
And have this, and I think I would have this picture as a lead to the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'd start with that
Start with
and
this, and
with
then you
less of
Scroll
the,
below that and there's text.
Yeah.
and then fact is, they also attend, probably will show up at a couple, on the farmers,
Page 9,
Okay.
on the farmers markets, where,
yeah, they're gonna do some outreach there.
outreach there. So.
Yeah, that should be the cover page of the whole thing.
Yeah.
A town meeting reimagined, a
But they,
collaborative.
I commended the group because they really have worked hard in a very short time.
Oh, it was such a well-written document.
And
You can tell how many things they took into account.
My other thought was that this, I don't know how stuff is kept around here in town, like this needs to be archived and held on to
Oh, it
for
will, yeah,
like,
in a folder.
not just for posterity, but someone else is gonna hear about it and go, oh, wait, how did Jericho do that? And we said, oh, there's our report right there, and not, oh,
We
what's
can-
Gay's email? Is she still around? Like, you know.
Yeah.
it just-
That's why I said, I mean, the
I
LCT.
say we charge
quite
them $20
interested
every
in
time they want it to.
Right, exactly.
And the other and Ann Nelson Stoner, who is the equity program director at the RPC, is also quite interested in looking at our document as well. Because it's because she's somebody who's really interested in, I mean, that's her job, is to deal with equity issues. She said that, you know, that's one of the things that has come up, is that in order to do more inclusiveness, the town meeting that has been lost, and she's so excited to see if somebody actually is trying to, you know, do something about it. That, and of course, at the state level too, they may end up being able down the road, being able to have it actually in as a hybrid, so that you can vote and have it all on town meeting and not have to do a multiple state, unless it really works and we get people actually coming to budget meetings.
Right.
All right, select board updates.
I mean, my big one was Joe being the next person for JCDC, so we approved that today, so I don't think I have much else. I might think of something if you get talking though.
No, and my big thing is, you know, I've already mentioned it, is the art, and then like, you know, the jet forces. Oh, actually, that is a biggie. Because MERP is for energy committees, that's the mini grant. And that's because it's for energy committees to do education or projects or things like that, or, you know, have like our movies and lectures and stuff. Paula applied for it, and because it's non-competitive, the Jet Force has $4,000 to work on education outreach.
Nice.
Or actually window dressers or something like that, which is actually a community building and making wooden and plastic storm windows for homes that need it and weatherizations.
Oh.
So there's a lot of different things you can do. You cannot do equipment. But it's more like movies and outreach, or you know, like Waterbury's big leap fair, like that.
That would be cool. You know, what would be cool is to do a how-to to build, like you said, like to build a little wooden
Yeah.
storm window.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
people that could use them.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, it becomes a whole community thing. They get together. You have, because Sabina sent me because there is a group that actually does presentations and that, and one of the people they work with is window dressers, because that's what it's called, is window dressers. And so you see this presentation, you learn about it, and then you get a community thing together and build these things. And $4,000 could go a long way for materials.
Cool.
So that's a great, I mean, because there are places who could use it.
One thing that I had a question about was an email that we all got, and I followed up, and I got an email back from Andrew Albright about, is there a timetable on the Old Pump Bridge? I know it's 25, but do we know when or what exactly?
Budget-
what's
budget.
being done?
I thought it was this summer, budget 25, you mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna repave the aprons of that bridge,
Yeah.
so that they're not, all bowed in and all chipped out, and then they're gonna hopefully extend those aprons out a little bit more, so that gives that water to run off a little bit better and not stand right at the ends of the bridge. So they're hoping to, that's this summer's, project.
So, this summer, right now. So repave the apron and extend the apron. Was repave mean pave over or rip up and
I don't think, you know, I don't think that they'll, what do they call it, mill it or whatever.
Go down to the base
Yeah,
again.
they're not gonna go, they'll just
Skim coating, yeah.
Yeah.
Resurface it.
Scarify it and kind of fix it.
And will they pave the bridge? Isn't the bridge itself full of potholes?
I'm not sure, I know the highway guys went over and filled some of those holes on the bridge
Okay.
with their patch
Just like they did on Nashville.
Mhm. Yeah.
Snipe Island.
I think the question is finding out from the state whether the bridge is like in the standards, the bridge is in
And
standards.
how do we determine that?
So each year, the bridge, of the state does inspections of the bridges.
Every year?
Every year the state goes around and gets, well, you know,
That's
Yeah,
why
yeah.
they came across Brown's Trace Bridge, but below the highway department, that one.
Okay. And when do they do you know when they do that?
I don't, I think it may be like September comes to mind.
Great.
alrighty, so, all right.
Did you have any updates?
I do, I have
Okay.
a few. One is I wanted to let you know that the radar speed signs in Jericho Center, Browns River Middle School, and then our floating ones that I call, we got the pieces that came through. And so I called Eric. He is gonna set up a time to meet with Jacob, hopefully on Monday, to get them all installed. So Jericho Center hopefully will be permanent, no problems, be done on Monday, same at the Browns River Middle School.
And what's the plan for the ones that are right now on Skunk Hollow? Are those gonna live there forever?
No, they can be moved around. We
Okay.
have 4 of them. So we can move them around
Okay.
wherever you want.
But they don't seem to last for, like, I came home tonight, I think they were dead tonight when I
Oh,
came.
that's why she's gonna fix those too.
Yeah, those are gonna be part of the process of him going around because he's gotten solar panels for those.
Oh, for
that run.
those?
Oh, really?
Whoa,
Oh, cool.
I thought those were
Okay.
just
Yes.
movable.
I didn't realize they-
I thought it was like-
Move them around,
But I
but
thought it was you were gonna have to like charge the battery every 3 days and bring
we
it back
have
out.
been,
Right.
we have been, and
that's gonna be-
that's the
Oh,
problem,
that'll be
yes.
so, okay,
Yes,
great.
they should run. The other one is the Jericho Market Crosswalk. I had, East Coast come out and the new sign that we bought does not read the old sign on Raceway. So he called, All Traffic, and we're ordering just a unit. He called it just the top unit. And that he's gonna install that once that unit comes in. So then they
They
will
talk to
be
each
able to
other.
read and that will be taken care of as well. So I got both of those still in place.
Nice.
Wanted
Yeah.
to give you an update. The town planner ad has been out. We've got 7 applications so
Oh,
far.
that's great.
Wow, great.
Yeah. The yellow lines have been done from the
Saw that.
state. Yep, yep. Next is fog lines and, Jacob has been, dealing with the contact person for that, and they'll let him know when they're able to come out.
Please make sure they don't do the double ones,
Oh,
Yep,
yes,
please.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see, the other is, I do have, last select board meeting, we talked about the delinquent dog list, and I do have the letter ready, just ready to be signed, from Catherine, and then I will give that to Jessica, and she will send all of those out. She has gotten, quite a few in, but
I
not.
told a coworker, I yelled at a coworker the next day.
It's fun to read that list, isn't
I said,
it?
hey, you're getting a letter from me with a warrant for your dog's arrest.
And I just wanted to give an update on the Old Red Mill. I have reached out to, Du Bois and King. They're currently scheduled for August now for the rocks in the river. So,
Cool.
I actually do have one more update that I forgot about, which was that we met with with Matt Young about the maintenance facility and lay out a schedule for that process and kind of put together a work team. And we're gonna be going out and looking at some similar facilities he did in St. Albans and Georgia, and maybe Milton. And he seemed great. I mean, I didn't know him, but he seemed like, I was impressed with the way he spoke in his presentation and things he was talking about, mistakes he's made that he's gonna learn from Georgia and Albans, and things to avoid and things to make sure you do next time. And
Cool.
so that's off to a good start, and that whole thing should be put to bed and done in February of 26.
I have one more thing. The library, the Jericho Town Library is looking to purchase a defibrillator. And they wanted to, kind of bring that up and get recommendations maybe from the board as to what to do. I had recommended they look for grants, to do this. That's how we got these, I believe, through a grant.
And in fact, it's Matt and the fire department were the ones who actually facilitated the company to buy it from.
Right, okay.
I would recommend reaching out to him.
Yeah,
Yeah, they should reach out to him. And I think at that point, they were like about $5,000 each. If they're just looking for one, I mean, we could use a little ARPA. So that way it gets there
Quicker.
quicker.
okay.
All right, Chuck, you have,
Hold on one second.
wait.
You can come on up, but I just have one more thing I wanted to
Okay.
ask you folks, which was, we've got the plan for the, extending the sidewalk down to, Griswold.
Yeah.
From
The connector,
from Griswold to
From Griswold to Packard, sorry, yeah.
Right.
to
And then sort of then cross over to Raceway and Godspeed, good luck getting down Raceway.
yeah.
That's right.
I'm wondering if it would be appropriate for either me as an individual human being or as an individual select board member or all of us together to task the bicycle committee, bike ped, the old
Yep.
trails committee with coming up with a way to manage traffic and talk about we should pave Raceway in this way so we can get traffic down there in a safe way and make space for walkers and stuff and ask them to like look into the cost of that and are there grants available? Is that appropriate for me or us or whatever to say, like, we want you to think about this and do some work on this, or is that
We
not?
could do that, on their, yeah, but, based on prior, things, the state funds in segments.
Mhm.
So right now, we don't even have a grant to do the sidewalk between Griswold and Packard. So that's the first thing is to get the grant, and that's once you get a grant, that's 3 to 5 years to construct.
Mhm.
So they will have time to think about what goes next.
Mhm.
And who knows, there may be changes to the commercial district, because there was ideas of, switching it over to that side as well,
Mhm.
depending on activity. So, I mean, they should have it on their radar, but right now our focus should be getting grants for Griswold Packard.
And should they be doing that, or is that?
No,
That's
that's staff. That's a staff thing.
But I think to Peter's point is we all have concerns, right?
yeah.
Like every option we were presented with had its own drawbacks, like anything. We all have some concerns about how that's actually going to manifest with bikes and peds going down Raceway. So I
But that's-
think it's fine to say, what are your recommendations? So it's not us trying to be like, oh, what about that hill? And
That's why all the plans had it going from Griswold to Packard, so that's a given.
Right.
That we could.
right.
just
Right,
go
but in
ahead
terms
with
of, like getting things done around town and select board bandwidth. If it was okay, it was appropriate for us or me or whoever to say like, hey, we'd like you guys to work on this because it's something that we as a select board want to see happen. And it falls under your purview. Could you please
Yeah,
take some time to think about this?
They just, need to be, we just need to tell them, and they, obviously. If
Needs
there's-
to be amenable to it.
they need to be- And if there's issues, then, obviously you have to work with the town planner.
Right.
And I think we probably need to give them some guardrails, like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't wanna hear
Set
a
up
plan
a-
of you're paving it with gold because
right,
it's
right.
better on your, for
Shine
bikes or
better
something.
for
Yeah,
you.
like,
Right.
let's get some really practical
Yep,
things that
yep.
we could actually do that,
Yep.
I think, I'm not saying those are the
Yes.
parameters, but,
Yeah.
come up with some
Yeah.
thoughtful parameters to say,
To help them think about what.
okay, let's say we could pave it, how would you pave it? Let's say we can't pave it,
how
what would you do there? That's what I would suggest
Yeah,
is
but
some,
they do, because the engineers had ideas on this, but they, it needs to be function.
right.
I mean, bicycle people would know how to. All right, Chuck.
One is, I listened to your conversation with the engineer about wastewater. I'm pleased with the conversation. I felt like you got really close to set priority, but didn't. And I think that there's a lot of parallel tracks that can be working right now, and there are a lot of entities that I think could be working more efficiently on behalf of the project after you set a priority, which to me seems pretty apparent. You know, in terms of working on the financing, the planning commission, the consultant that the planning commission is gonna have to go out and talk about, the intern talking about, you know, promoting wastewater, the Affordable Housing Committee, the conversations with MMU, the conversations with, Mr. Tatro, Paula's work, economic development, serious conversations with Underhill and serious conversations with Underhill, Jericho Water District, all take are done with kind of more sort of efficiency and purpose and direction. The same with your own leadership within the town in terms of, you know, explaining kind of where we're going. Governance issues are going to take longer than this design. You know, is this a district or a town system? Who are the commissioners, the leadership, all that stuff is going to take a lot of time. And doing it kind of sequentially, it's going to take a long, long time. This was your priority. All of our priorities listed in every chapter of the town plan. And I think the sooner you can make what I think is somewhat of an obvious choice, you can tell the engineer, this is what our priority is. We want to get this piece done. The other two can come later, but this is the fast, this is the fast track, just like any, and we're well behind where the town plan said we would be at this point. The second thing is that your strategy on housing very much relies on infill in the village centers and in the village districts. And one of the obstacles to that is that we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of houses, certainly hundreds and hundreds, probably hundreds and hundreds, that are in neighborhoods where there are bans on infill housing. So entire neighborhoods where accessory dwelling apartments and additional housing is not allowed by the neighborhood. And if you're looking at,
You mean by the HOA or you mean by not
by the homeowners.
by the homeowner association?
Association.
So in my view, a neighborhood that has a homeowners association agreement that bans infill housing, that bans additional apartments, just that bans more housing, is really not consistent with the town plan.
It's illegal now too.
Well, I believe a homeowners association is still allowed to do it.
I think it's illegal.
Well, that would be, okay, that would be good.
Take care of that.
I didn't read that in the state bill, the new state bill, but if you did, that's great.
I think there's some of those issues, because that's
Well,
exact,
that doesn't take.
yeah, we need to
Let's
check
get
on
ahead of the
that.
town, let's get ahead of the law, then we could be another leader.
That's right.
So the idea of accepting a town road in a neighborhood that bans infill housing in the village center and the village district runs counter to the town plan. And when you're working on specs for what roads and what neighborhoods we're going to include in terms of the town roads, one of the specs needs to be that you allow infill housing. It's simply counter to the town plan, counter what we're doing. And when a neighborhood comes and is looking for, looking for this, one of the specs needs to be your neighborhood is consistent with the overriding objective in our town plan, which is to promote infill housing in village center and the village districts. So before you add any street, I think you need to investigate what the homeowners agreements are and see if that meets our expectations.
Oh, that's a great idea.
That is a fantastic point. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love your comment about the archives. I've read the minutes from the select board back to 1954. They are beautifully and lovingly maintained through the generations. What is missing is the documents that were discussed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you can read the minutes. They'll say, well, we discussed so and so, and
we all looked at it up here. Yeah,
great report.
Yeah.
Right.
And
But not even before the internet, like 1992, the document doesn't exist.
yeah.
I copied the table of uses for the 2019 regs and the 2022 regs, and they're right here, so you can look up.
Great,
Thanks,
thanks.
Chuck.
Maybe Paul
Thank
can
you.
make copies.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want a copy of that.
Yeah, we, well, because
Yeah,
we only have,
Short, okay, yeah.
yeah, he was short.
Okay, great.
I need you to sign both of those Sullivan and Powers ones. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I already did.
Here,
Sign
can
both?
you hand me those two things? and
Oh.
I'll copy them.
What?
Those two forms.
These?
Yep.
Yep.
And then
Can I
I'll.
read them first?
Sure.
Can I date this?
Yes, please. Yeah, you can. Yeah, absolutely.
I have the worst handwriting, so I chose not to be the one to add the date.
Okay to use them on.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're just
Absolutely.
There's that one.
Notes here. Make sure somebody's here.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much for doing it, definitely.
I'm not sure if it's open. I sent you 2 emails on the stormwater thing. Our total impervious surface is 4.48.
Oh,
And we had roughly 40 acres going off the map of the total location. So we figured about a half acre of road impervious surface. And that's pretty much an educated guess by
Yeah.
very good scholar.
thank you. Thank
But
you.
yeah,
Thank you.
so I sent you those 2 emails
Okay.
from the.
Yeah, I'll probably reach out to you again, just because, like, I don't, like, so are you guys on the 3-acre stormwater now?
Yes.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
all right,
We are.
okay, perfect.
We didn't know that, we were perfect.
Right. Exactly.
Well, not to derail us too much, but the biggest thing that I learned that was never clear to me was it's only on older stuff. Like they don't do it for new ones because there's more strict standards. Like,
Right.
oh,
Let's
Right.
figure see.
What
yeah.
was built in when, 2000?
Well,
Well, depends what. the base-
7, 8.
Yeah. it's
7
what
or 8.
first-
first base was 7.
Yeah.
7, 8.
Yeah.
We were.
So you guys are covered under that new
Yeah.
regs or whatever they.
Yeah, we just went to, like I said, there used to be 3 stormwater grants, and we just went to 1
Nice.
about 2 years ago.
There are master.
Yeah.
And that makes I was gonna
Yeah.
say, that makes it a
Yeah.
lot easier
For
to
sure.
A
maintain.
lot cheaper too. We were
Yeah.
paying everything 3 times.
Right.
once.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, I mean, because you certainly can make follow up on the testing and, the updates and all the things that you have to do when you're looking at one. And rather than 3 different times.
Yeah.
It's Kevin Gaffney, it's not, the money isn't that substantial, but when you're thinking about one and you're plowing backward, you're plowing starboard, and the other cross of that intersection is our road. And there's children that go to school. Backward, it is a safety thing too, it's not just elderly crossing. And you have children walking through the path from Jericho East down our road. Get the bus.
Wow.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Send you what we spend for snow plowing, so you can see it's minimal. It's not the issue.
Thank you.
Perfect.
I think we'll be good without you.
Whatever you need. just
All right, next is, we sign our warrants, and talk about the minutes of June 6th.
I wasn't there. So I didn't read them.
So he's abstaining.
I would make a motion to pass the minutes of.
Oh, you don't do that. You gotta let Catherine go through.
Oh,
them.
hey.
Come on, Peter.
Typos.
The minutes you're on there too? Did you
Well-
find any errors?
No, I did not this time.
Oh my gosh, I take it back, Peter. I'm sorry. I take it back. I wasn't here. I get it.
Common non-denominator. I make a motion to pass the minutes of June 6th, 2024.
I'll second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Do we have an executive session tonight? Do we need one?
I think
We do. In that case, I will make a motion to enter into executive session for reasons of personnel and legal because premature disclosure of the information would be detrimental to the parties involved.
Do you remember that?
he's been working on it.
I pretended to know it.
That's-
when you were gone.
Oh, you did?